Republicans are furious about Joe Biden's plans to spread broadband across the country. Find out why. Check it out. Leave your comments, ding the bell, share it with your friends, and subscribe to our channel. In the news here, I just want to pop through a few things, and then we can talk about what's going on. The cable companies. I was just, those of you listening on commercial radio, I was just reading an ad for one of our sponsors, expressvpn.com, that provides security. You can, when you're online, you can surf the web and whatnot without your internet service provider tracking down what you're doing. And now there's this, Joe Biden is proposing $100 billion for broadband around the country that will not be run by private for-profit corporations who will snoop on you and sell your data like happens right now for most of us, but instead will be run like Chattanooga, Tennessee, where the city provides the broadband, doesn't snoop on you, and gives you better quality, faster speeds at a much, much lower price because they don't have to. I mean, just ask yourself, how did Comcast, this little regional, cable company and internet service provider down in Georgia or Florida, how did they end up like owning NBC? Well, it's very, very profitable to be an internet service provider and a cable company. So anyhow, the cable industry is going nuts, or the internet service providers. They've hired this guy, Michael Powell, who used to be the head of the FCC during George W. Bush's administration. Remember him? And he was the Republican chairman of the Federal Communications Commission. And this is what he said. The idea that the private sector and profit incentives are intrinsically unsuited to do the job, that's the phrase that was used by one of the people on TV advocating for Joe Biden's plan. If you want the largest number of people to have the fastest internet service possible, you don't want private companies providing it because they're just going to be trying to, skim money off the top to give to their stockholders and their CEOs and they're going to sell your information. So anyhow, he says the idea the private sector and profit incentives are intrinsically unsuited to do the job is surprisingly Soviet. Right. And then a Biden official said, if we're going to put billions of public dollars behind this effort, we need to do it in a way that sets it up for decades to come. Amen. Broadband is infrastructure. Meanwhile, the war on democracy continues. Texas is considering a bill very much like Georgia's. Similar legislation, over 300 pieces of similar legislation have been introduced in over 47 states. And now corporate America is saying, we're not going to support these guys who hate America, right? Right. Over the Associated Press News, AP News, Brian Sladisko writing the headline, kind of says it all. Corporations gave over $50 million to voting restriction backers. AT&T was one of the most prolific. They gave $800,000 since 2015 to authors of these proposed restrictions. Other top donors during the same period include Comcast, Philip Morris USA, United Health Group, Walmart, Verizon, General Motors, and Pfizer. These donations, these $50 million in donations, quote, helped cement Republican control in state houses. Right. So when are America's corporations going to get their act together? In the COVID area, I did want to bring this to your attention. The British variant of COVID, which is far more contagious, is ripping through Michigan, France, and Germany right now, and is starting to spread to other parts of Europe, and is also starting to spread to other parts of the United States. It's not only more contagious, it's easier to catch. You need a lot less virus and a lot less exposure. So 6 feet may not be enough. What we thought was good ventilation might not be enough, but it's also more deadly and against younger people. So now we've got 30-year-olds, 40-year-olds, 50-year-olds who are getting sick and ending up in the hospital being intubated and dying, as opposed to just 70 and 80-year-olds. Now, part of the reason why 70 and 80-year-olds are not dying at the rates that they were is because they're getting vaccinated really fast. But, we're still only roughly one-fifth, about one-fifth of Americans have had at least their first vaccine. But there's this new mutation, it's called EEK. It's the E484K mutation. The scientists call it EEK. And it's another variation. It's a brand new mutation. And it's now spreading through Japan. 10 out of 14 people who tested positive at the Tokyo Medical Hospital in March had that variation. None of them yet have the British variation. So this is mutating all over the world, which is not a good thing. And in the face of this and this massive health crisis that's coming with it, legislators in Florida who are looking at a $2 billion shortfall this year in their budget have been offered by the federal government, Joe Biden and the federal government, saying, you know, if you just expand Medicaid in your state, make it available to everybody, 90% of the money comes from us, we will wipe out your budget deficit. And they're saying, no, we don't want to do that. Instead, we're going to cut $251.2 million out of Medicaid reimbursements for hospitals. We're going to cut $77 million out of the critical care fund for low-income people for health care. And we're going to reduce by $22 million the amount of money that Medicaid pays for over-the-counter drugs. Right.